Feed a lie long enough and it grows teeth. Madam Linda faked the pregnancy, the pain, even the delivery, but the same nurse who helped with her delivery was the one who exposes her. In the town of Ohui, where old village huts stood side by side with bright painted houses, Madam Linda was a name that opened doors. She ran the biggest textile business around people, came from far and near to buy her cloth. She wore the finest lace, rode in fine cars, and walked with her head high. But behind the smiles people gave her in public were whispers like snakes in the grass. See her. All that money, yet no man will touch her. No child to call her own. Ugly and proud, that's why. She's chased all the men away. The words reached her ears, as words always do. And each time, she would laugh loudly in the market, pretending she didn't care. But at night, in the silence of her big house, those whispers became loud in her head. They followed her into her dreams. She woke up angry. She woke up empty. Her heart became a well of bitterness. She began to think, what is money if people still mock me? I will not let them laugh at me anymore. Linda tried to forget the gossip, but it grew worse. At weddings, old women would look at her and click their tongues. At naming ceremonies, mothers would hold their babies tight, their eyes saying, "You will never know this joy." One evening, after a village event where she had been humiliated by sly comments, Linda sat in her room staring at herself in the mirror. She saw her fine clothes, her gold necklaces, her painted face, but none of these things covered the emptiness she felt. I will do what it takes. I will have a child no matter how, she swore. The next day, fate sent Madame Vero her way. Vero was a smooth talker, a woman who knew many secrets. When Linda shared her sorrow, Vero's eyes glittered. There is a woman, Mama Aisha. She gives children to women like you, for a price. Linda didn't even think twice. The seed of desperation had grown too deep. Linda met Mama Aisha, a tired-looking woman with clever eyes in a quiet corner of another village. Aisha was already with child. She agreed to sell the baby once it was born. Linda's heart danced. But how would she face the town without a growing belly? Vero led her to a herbalist who lived near the river. The man gave Linda a dark bottle filled with thick liquid. Rub this on your belly. Drink a little each night. Slowly your body will change. And so it began. Linda followed the instructions. Weeks passed, and to the town's shock, her stomach began to swell. Wonders shall never end, they exclaimed. Neighbors, churchwomen, even those who mocked her now came with gifts. Linda smiled, but inside she laughed at them. Her pride grew, her lie grew, and with it the darkness in her heart. The months passed, and at last the day came. Far from Ohui, in a small quiet village, Mama Aisha gave birth to a baby girl soft, helpless, and innocent. When the news reached Madame Linda, her heart raced, not with love, but with relief. Finally, my shame is covered, she thought. Without delay, Linda rushed to a secret hospital. There, for a price, they gave her what she wanted, a small scar that would fool anyone who asked. To Linda, that scar was worth more than gold. She named the child Drina, not out of affection, but because it meant my helper. When Linda returned home, people cheered. They sang and danced, praising the new mother. But once the doors closed, Linda sighed and pushed the baby aside. What now? This child has served her purpose, she muttered. That night, while Drina cried softly in a corner, Linda slept in peace, her secret safe, for now. Drina grew, but she never knew kindness. As soon as she could walk, she became Linda's little helper. She swept floors that were wider than her small arms could manage. She fetched water in buckets too heavy for her tiny hands. If she dropped a cup or broke a plate, Linda's voice would rise, sharp like a whip. Drina would tremble, her little heart pounding in fear. In public, Linda painted the picture of a loving mother dressing Drina well for outings, feeding her sweets, calling her my jewel. But at home, Drina wore torn clothes, ate scraps, and slept on a mat by the kitchen door. One evening, Drina mistakenly stained Linda's best wrapper while washing. Linda locked her in the storeroom, dark, dusty, filled with rats until morning. The child cried herself to sleep, her small stomach rumbling. Drina grew, but so did the weight on her small shoulders. By the time she was 7, her hands were already rough from scrubbing floors, her feet sore from running errands. She rose before the sun, swept the compound, fetched water, and cleaned the house, all before the children even woke up. Yet in public, Linda made her shine like a trophy. When visitors came, she dressed Drina in fine clothes, combed her hair neatly, and handed her sweet fruits. She would smile and say, "This is my joy, my blessing." But as soon as the visitors left, that smile would fade. One evening, Drina, tired and hungry after a long day, mistakenly dropped a tray of cups. The crash echoed through the house. Linda stormed out, her face hard. "You foolish girl," she hissed. Without another word, she pointed outside. Drina knew what that meant. She quietly picked up a small mat and went out to sleep under the mango tree, as she had done many times before. The night air was cold. Mosquitoes hummed around her. She curled up, tears slipping down her cheeks, wishing for morning. Inside, Linda ate her meal in peace, not sparing a thought for the child in the dark. Drina's days blended into each other: work, hunger, silence. But on one of those quiet mornings, as she swept the front of the house with tired hands, someone paused at the gate. It was Mama Nene, an old woman known in Ohui for her gentle ways and sharp eyes. She often passed Linda's house on her way to the market. That morning she stopped. She watched the small girl sweeping, sweat dripping down her face, her arms thin and trembling from carrying a heavy bucket earlier. Drina's head was bent low, but Mama Nini could see the sadness in her eyes. "My child, are you okay?" Mama Nini asked softly. Startled, Drina looked up. She wanted to speak, but her throat felt tight. She only shook her head as tears welled up. Mama Nene's heart ached. She saw beyond the clean compound, beyond the fine house. She saw a child burdened beyond her years. From that day, Mama Nene began to stop by often. She would hand Drina small fruits, a banana, a guava, or slip a few coins into her hand when Linda wasn't looking. And when their eyes met, she would say quietly, "Be strong, my child. Your story is not over." For the first time in her young life, Drina felt a spark of hope. Someone saw her. Someone cared. For many years, Madam Linda carried herself with pride, her head high, her smile wide, as if nothing could touch her. People who once mocked her now greeted her with respect. The market women who gossiped about her behind her back now invited her to ceremonies, hoping for her gifts. But as the elders say, the truth is like smoke. No matter how you cover it, it will find its way out. It began with a small thing, as secrets often do. One quiet evening, the town of Ohui gathered for a wedding celebration. The air was filled with the sweet scent of stew, the beat of drums, and the laughter of guests. Linda, dressed in bright green lace, stood among the important women, greeting people as if nothing in this world could shake her. Among the guests was a nurse named Ngozi. She had only recently moved to away from the city. As she watched Linda greet people with her usual grace, something tugged at her memory. Ngozi narrowed her eyes, studying Linda's face. Where have I seen this woman before? She thought. The answer came slowly, like a shadow at dusk, and then it hit her: the secret hospital. The place where women went when they wanted to hide something. She had worked there as a young nurse. She remembered Linda. She remembered the scar request. She remembered the lies. Her heart pounded. Could it be? For days, Ngozi battled within herself. Should she speak? Should she stay silent? But the unease grew. One evening, she decided to visit the town's pastor, a kind man known for his wisdom and fairness. The pastor listened quietly as Ngozi spoke. His face grew serious, his eyes heavy with thought. When she finished, he nodded slowly. This is not a small matter. We must seek the truth, but we must do it with care, so no one is wrongly shamed. And so, the pastor decided to go to the route to Mama Aisha herself. The journey to Mama Aisha's village was long. The pastor traveled with Ngozi and two elders. When they arrived at Mama Aisha's small crumbling house, the old woman sat on her stool, weak with age. Her eyes, once sharp, now looked tired, as if carrying the weight of too many secrets. When she saw the pastor, she sighed deeply. I knew this day would come, she whispered. The pastor spoke gently. Mama Aisha, the truth frees the heart. Speak now. Let your soul rest. Tears filled Mama Aisha's eyes. And there, in the dim light of evening, she poured out everything: how Linda had come to her in desperation, how she had given her the child, how Linda had paid for a scar to fool the town. Her voice broke as she spoke. I thought I was helping a woman in sorrow, but I see now I helped her build a lie. The pastor returned with a heavy heart. He called for a gathering at the town square. The drums were silent that day. The air was thick with tension. Everyone came, young and old, rich and poor. Linda arrived, dressed in her finest, thinking it was just another town meeting. But as she stepped into the square, she saw the way people looked at her, the way their eyes searched her face, the way whispers moved like wind through dry leaves. The pastor stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. Today, we speak truth, a truth hidden for years, a truth that has hurt an innocent child. And before the crowd, he told the story. Every word fell like thunder. Linda's heart raced, her hands trembled. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Gasps filled the air. Some people wept, others shook their heads in disbelief. So all this time, she fooled us, and the child, poor child. Linda's knees grew weak. The respect she had worked so hard to build vanished in an instant. The eyes that once looked at her with admiration now saw her with pity, with scorn, with disappointment. She turned to Drina, who stood quietly at the edge of the crowd, her eyes wide with shock. For the first time, Linda saw the deep sadness in the girl's face, and it broke what was left of her pride. That day marked the beginning of Linda's fall. Her shop that once overflowed with customers became empty. People no longer greeted her in the streets. Her friends stopped visiting. And as the town walked away from the square that day, one thing was clear. No lie lasts forever. And when truth rises, it rises like the sun, impossible to hide. From the day the truth came out, Madame Linda's world began to crumble like an old wall under heavy rain. Her shop, once filled with customers, became quiet. People who used to rush to buy her fine cloth now crossed the road when they saw her coming. Some whispered as she passed. Others stared in silence, their eyes heavy with disappointment. All these years she fooled us, they said. She was never the mother we thought she was. Linda felt it everywhere in the cold greetings, in the empty shop, in the quiet of her once busy home. The respect she had forced with money and lies was gone. The house that once rang with fake laughter became silent. Friends who used to visit for food and gifts stopped coming. Neighbors no longer invited her to events. At night, Linda sat alone in her big sitting room, staring at the walls, remembering the days when she was the queen of Ohui. Now only shadows kept her company. She watched as Drina, the child she once saw as nothing but a cover for shame, began to bloom. With Mama Nene's help and the kindness of other villagers, Drina was taken in by a gentle family who treated her like their own. They gave her clean clothes, warm meals, and sent her to school. For the first time, Drina felt what it meant to be safe, what it meant to be loved. Each day, she grew stronger, she learned, she smiled, she dreamed. And Linda, she watched from afar, knowing she had lost what could have been her greatest treasure. The years passed like the river's steady flow. Drina, once the small girl who swept floors and cried under the mango tree, grew into a strong, kind young woman. With the help of Mama Nene and her new family, she finished school and trained as a nurse. People in Ohui admired her not for her beauty, though she had bloomed, but for her heart. She became known for helping children in need, the ones with no family, the ones left behind. Everywhere Drina went, she carried a gentle smile and words that healed. Meanwhile, Madame Linda's house, once filled with laughter, even if fake, remained silent. The fine chairs gathered dust. The big compound grew weeds. The shop that once brought her pride stayed locked. Linda sat alone each day, watching people pass, hearing their voices but never hearing her name called with respect anymore. The riches she held so tightly felt empty. She had spent her life chasing respect with lies, only to lose what mattered most. One warm evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, Drina returned to the house where it all began. She was now a woman graceful, calm, and kind. Linda, older and weaker now, looked up in surprise. For a moment, her eyes filled with tears. She expected harsh words. She expected to be shamed. But Drina simply said, "I came to say I forgive you, and I wish you peace." Those words broke the last wall of pride in Linda's heart. She wept not because Drina had spoken in anger, but because Drina had spoken with love. Drina walked away that evening with her head high, her heart free. She knew now that she was more than her past. She was not the shame Linda tried to cover. She was a light that could not be hidden. And Linda? She spent her last years in quiet reflection, learning that no lie can bring true respect, and no child deserves to be treated as a tool. If a child comes into your life, whether by birth, by gift, or by chance, love that child. Lies may cover shame for a moment, but only love can truly heal the heart.